now we know this meeting is being recorded. That's never actually spoke out loud. Kind of surprised me, but we're live on Facebook. We are recording this for YouTube, and we call ourselves the Radiant Evolution Collective. It's the energy that feels super uplifting to myself, Nina, and Nicole. We've entered this evolutionary partnership where we work and play and support each other and all of our clients and the people that we come in contact with to connect in with the elements that allow us to elevate our frequency and evolve. Hopefully, have some fun doing it too. And that's kind of what we wanted to chat about today because stuff's been chaotic for a long time. Things are still heavy, and the antidote that I know works the best for us is to infuse some energy of play into whatever we're doing. For me personally, when I'm feeling burnt out and overwhelmed, all I need to do is look at my life and go, have I actually had any fun lately? And typically the answer is going to be no if I am feeling heavy and dense, because play has this sacred way of healing us, of rejuvenating us and lifting us up. So that's why we wanted to chat about it. Yeah, I would love to just hear some of your really eloquent thoughts on play, ladies. Like, why do we need this more than ever? Why is it important, and why is it something that we can't ignore because we need to be serious?
Because play is actually a need. It's not just something that is that we get to do if we're all done our work and if we've done all the things that we need to do. It's actually something that we need to fulfill ourselves from that basic level. It's just as important as getting food and water and all the other things that we need to survive. If you don't have play in your life, there is it's just not a lot of fun. And not only is it not being fun as an issue, but it actually play is like the expression of creativity. So it helps you become a channel for fun, for joy, for creation to flow through you. So it's such an important thing. I'd love to hear what you think, Nina.
Yeah, I was just sharing it to all our groups and everything, so we're good there now. Play is, yeah, it can bring light and a lightness, not only light, but a lightness to situations that can otherwise be very heavy. And it's so important to like raise our vibration in that way when things are going down, when things are really real. And we are all responsible for ourselves, for our own energies and our state. And this doesn't mean that we're going to bypass what's going on, but what it means is that we're going to be responsible to gift ourselves the practices and use the tools that we have, or be open to acquiring new tools and trying new things so that we can, it's like putting on what's coming through right now is like putting on your own excuse me, your life mask. what's the thing called in the airplanes?
Oxygen mask.
Oxygen masks, life masks. Yeah, it's the same thing. Oxygen is life, but we put that on first. So, we talk a lot about self-care and taking good care of ourselves, and play is an aspect of that. Play is a need, like Nicole said. So, if we are gifting ourselves the opportunity, even short little spurts throughout the day of self-care, and play being one of those, it allows us to function so much more, just to be more balanced and be more able to thrive rather than just surviving. That joy and that effervescence that you feel when you're interacting with a young child, like my little beautiful niece Kaya, when yesterday we were doing a family photo shoot and she was running around the field giggling and wanting everybody to chase her, and like that instantly brought everybody joy to their heart. And that's life, that's rejuvenating, that's a gift for sure.
It's honestly a medicine that we don't always remember about. What was it? Patch Adams? If you, this is dating us a little bit, but there was a movie with Robin Williams called Patch Adams where he was a doctor that was bringing laughter and joy into hospitals, working with sick kids. Like it truly can shift so much of our stress response because that's kind of what we're in as a world right now, right? Everybody is stressed out. No matter how good you take care of yourself, there's still going to be a lot happening energetically, globally, no matter what's happening in your personal life. And a lot of the time we fall into this trap of going like, okay, things are serious. I got to be serious. I got to get work done. I got to do the thing, right? And it comes into this feeling of restriction and tension in our body. And that actually damages our health, first off. But it will also restrict our creativity, our logic, our intellect, our reason, our intuition, all of the things that we need to really effectively get stuff done, to solve all of the world's problems. So, an antidote, and it's not the only one, but a really effective one to being in a stress response or fight and flight can be to calm the nervous system with laughter, with sacred play, with all of those things, especially when it comes to those low grade stresses, maybe not in the middle of a trauma, right? But for the daily grind, when we are able to offer ourselves the gift of having some freaking fun, even in the middle of serious times, it gets us out of that place where we've got our blinders on and we can't see the forest for the trees and we like don't know what's going on. It literally elevates our perspective to a point that we can be like, oh, hey, I have a solution for that. And this is scientifically documented. We're not just pulling this out of our butts right now. But I'm curious if you're watching this live, like let us know, have you been feeling maybe a little bit more serious lately than you would have a year ago or, a year and a half ago? I'd love to know if you too have fallen into the trap of getting really flat-lined by these energies and not giving yourself the permission to play in the frequencies of play because you almost feel guilty about it. How about you, ladies?
Yeah, what was coming to me was the permission is so important to give yourself that permission. I know there was a period when, when I was in the early phases of my concussion recovery, and life felt really heavy and intense, and I couldn't do a whole lot. And there was a moment where I realized that I wasn't allowing myself to find that joy and that happiness in my life because I had this experience, and it did change my life a lot, but I wasn't giving myself that permission that I needed. Like, even though I was experiencing that hard time, didn't mean I needed to be, serious, sad in that state. I was basically keeping myself locked in this fixed mindset that life had to be shitty because I was injured. And I couldn't find those moments of, joy or happiness or play or fun. And I realized that at some point, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can still experience fun and joy, even if life is really hard. I'm not all of one of those things, and I'm not all of the other thing. Like, I'm just experiencing these different things, and we can have fun in the hard and hard in the fun, and that's just how life is.
You're reminding me of Mary Poppins. Anyone that works with kids, I think, realizes and understands that just like yelling at kids or telling them to do a thing just because it doesn't actually get anything done, right? But if you make the job a game, then the whole thing can turn into something that'll be a little bit easier if you can, get them to put on a timer and race them. I use my 5-year-old daughter's Aries nature and turn things into a race all of the time. And suddenly, what was something that she was dragging her heels on becomes something exciting. So we can learn a lot from kids, the tiny little masters. Like, little divine incarnate beings that are still so close to their original innocent frequency of love and just beingness and joy. Yeah, we can learn a lot from them. I want to just dive into and acknowledge the fact, though, that when you're in a lot of pain, it might not be possible to get into play like all the way there. So sometimes we have to start with a little mini step. So I'm wondering if you ladies have maybe any thoughts on that, about like, if you can't quite get to the energy of play, like what would be the next step, something more accessible?
What comes up for me is being open to the possibility of experiencing some lightness. And just by being open to that, we just start to expand the possibilities that are available to us. We start to give ourselves permission to move towards the play, even if we're not feeling fully, like if we're feeling like that's a big step in that moment. And something that's an always go-to for me is shaking. It's like a mini step that can take you towards maybe doing some ecstatic dance or some laughter or something else creative that feeds your soul, but shaking the body. We've spoken about a lot in the ceremonies that we share, and I've shared this a lot on Instagram, where shaking, as we're moving our body and as we're shaking, it can help to clear and open up the energetic pathways in our bodies. There's meridians throughout our bodies. Traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, these ancient medicines that are like thousands of years old spoke to these meridians, these energy pathways throughout our body, and that they can actually get gummed up and stuck from energies that we've taken on, past traumas or experiences. And again, going back to what I was sharing about, it's our responsibility, but also it's our responsibility to utilize the tools that we have to clear our energies, just the way we would take a shower every day. But rather than, it feeling like a heavy responsibility, I invite you to shift your perspective as like, it's an opportunity that we are sovereign and we are free to do these things when we are needing them, rather than needing to rely on something external to change to be able to shift our vibration. So just the simple act of shaking and breathing. So it would be like standing, bouncing on your heels, starting to shake your fingers and your hands, just seeing what that feels like. And I would encourage you all to experiment with this. Set a timer for 1 minute and shake and breathe, and notice how you feel before. Take a little snapshot and notice how you feel after, and just tune into the sensations in your body. And even if you have a 1% shift in your energy and in your state, that is an awesome, yeah, where I've got the one minute timer there. That's an awesome shift in your state.
You want to just have everybody try it. Like, we can talk about it and then they get the intellectual knowledge, but like knowing and doing are two very different things.
I love it. Let's do it. I'm going to stand up. Everyone, if you're watching live replay, it doesn't matter, stand up. So, Aurora, you got your timer?
Sure.
Awesome. Yeah, my phone's in another room. Wonderful. So standing where you are right now in this space and noticing what you're feeling in your body right now, whatever it is, just noticing those sensations in your body and tuning in without judgment, just seeing what is there, what's present. Okay, and now begin to bounce in your heels, maybe shaking your hands, your wrists, and listening to your body. What does your body need right now as you move? Take a deep breath in and sigh it out. Breathing in deep I like to breathe in for like 4 counts and then breathing out for 4 counts and sighing it out through the mouth. If you're letting go of something, if you feel like you're shaking out some density and some tension, see it floating onto the earth and being absorbed by Mother Earth, where she transmutes it. Keep shaking, maybe shake harder now, just for the last few seconds. Shake, 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 shake. And there's our timer. And as you come to a close, just close your eyes and notice what you're feeling in your body. Take a breath. And reading it aloud. What do you feel in your body? Whether you're on right now or watching at another time, name it aloud for yourself to hear so you can really experience this sensation and this state shift. I feel more lightness, more energy flowing in, especially my back and my fingertips. And Aurora, Nicole, what are you feeling?
Definitely more alive, tingling. I am smiling like without any thought. When I was shaking, it just came to light my face up. Created space.
Yeah, I'm feeling all of that. I wore a dress today because I knew we were talking about this and I wanted to be more playful. And as I was shaking, I could feel the dress like flowing and hitting my legs. And it reminded me of being like a little girl and being like, look at my dress, it's so twirly. So my little Nicole inner child was coming out to play. So I'm just feeling more light, more playful, more joyful. And I look at all of us. I think we're looking like so much brighter than we were when we started today.
Yes. And if you're watching, type in the comments now. Let us know how you're feeling after just 1 minute. That's just 1 minute. What if you did a couple of minutes? Or what if you committed to doing that once per day while you were taking a break from work? How much more productive or focused might you be if you gifted yourself just 60 seconds of shaking? And also, on the note of productivity, let's also reframe that this is productive. Shaking is productive. Play is productive.
Yes. Oh my goodness. This is something interesting we were talking about before we were live. You don't have to earn your playtime. You do not have to tick off everything on your to-do list. We get to prioritize it. It gets to be on your to-do list if you really want to harness this medicine, this thing that will allow you to increase your productivity, raise your energetic frequency, see solutions to problems, and literally heal you body, mind, and soul in many ways. I'm not saying it's going to cure your cancer, but we do know that laughter is one of the best medicines, right? Because it does lower those stress responses. What were you saying, Nina, before? It like infuses you with life force energy.
Yes. And, I feel that right now. And I know, like, personally, I'm the type of person that can sometimes get a little bit really zoned in on the details and take things seriously. And that leads to holding the breath and not being in the body. Play gets us into the body. This shaking that we just did, I feel more in my body now. I feel more clear. I feel like more of a channel for what wants to come through in this conversation. So if we can use this as a way to, fill us like from that inner wellspring of energy that the universe is always available from within us. Like I said before, we're not as dependent on external situations like shifting for us to in order to feel better or feel okay or feel energized or even like I'm not really a coffee drinker, but I enjoy cacao, and that gives a beautiful energy and a beautiful vivacious brightness. But like shaking or play can also infuse me with that same energy. So yeah, it has such benefit, and think it's underrated, especially in these times where we feel like we need to focus on what's serious and we're really zoned in. And what we can do is when we gift ourselves these opportunities to pause, play, do something to break the state, we zoom out a little bit and we see the bigger picture in a broader sense and can see more clearly.
Mm. I think that just is exactly what you're talking about. There's a difference, and your hands were doing it, but it's like when we are zoomed in and we're really focused, there is a time and place for that, but it really can constrict our energy. And when we stay constricted, that's like it feels stressful. We feel sad, mad, angry, tight, like all of those energies are making us feel smaller than our actual size. Whereas when we open up with shaking, with breath, with play, with gratitude, whatever it happens to be, there's an expansion. And from that expanded place, we have access to more of who we really are, like we were speaking of before. And we are speaking from personal experience. Nina and Nicole and I all met through hula hooping. We were all hula hoop and circus and sacred dance facilitators. And we don't do the hula hooping as much anymore, thanks to a variety of life path choices and injuries and everything like that. But we completely have an embodied understanding of what play can do for the body, mind, and soul, how absolutely essential it is. Like Nicole was saying, it's a need, not just a want or a desire. And so together we created a space that we could digitally come together and play with all of these different things that support us in getting into alignment, getting into that expanded frequency. So we have this membership called the playground, where we bring in things like shaking. Every ceremony we do, we shake, we breathe, we use our voices, we move. And sometimes it gets a little serious, but mostly it's about getting in the body and then expanding into those frequencies that do feel lighter, where we have that possibility within us, right? So I feel like we've gone into a whole bunch of different areas of play, but earlier, Nicole, you were talking about how you can actually infuse some of the playful energies into things like even shadow work, the things that kind of feel heavier and denser.
Yeah, of course. So I think there's this like element of curiosity that comes with play, and we don't need to like it. Not everything has to be so heavy as we can potentially make it. Like as you spoke into before, sometimes when we're going through some shit and it's hard, you might not be able to expand into the full experience of play. But what if you were able to, instead of just, going in that potentially dark downward spiral, can just take a little moment to lighten it up with like some movement and things like that we just did, so that it's not so heavy, it's not so dark. Like whenever I teach ecstatic dance, I like to always I like to use that tool as a way to, move your energy, get in your body, explore what's there in a curious way without judgment and all of that stuff, shake things up, and then we have fun and play, and that's like the alchemy afterwards. So after you uncover that darkness, you put some light on that shadow. I love to dance and encourage people to be joyful and move and let things, just have fun, because that is what will really shift the energy after you've gone into all of those potentially heavy things. And I think we do such a good job of that in our playground ceremonies as well. And that's why our whole theme in June is going to be sacred play. So we're going to have a couple ceremonies. Our own ceremony that the three of us are going to co-create on June 9th, I believe, is the date. And then we're also going to have a laughter yoga session as well later in the month. And then, of course, we'll all co-create some additional play opportunities for you all. So it's going to be so awesome to, like you said, counterbalance the energy of what's going on in the world right now. It looks like there could be a lot of chaos and intensity continuing over the next little bit in the outside world. And while it's still important for us to, be good citizens and support the collective and, not just put our heads in the sand about everything that's going on, but we also need to fill ourselves up first and find that element of play so that we can bring our light into the world and come at it from this place of being fulfilled, and also just showing up, like, as I think play creates opportunities for us to expand our light, like you were talking about, and that will help us show up as the light in the world that the world needs right now. Because you can look out and see a lot of chaos, or you can look and you can choose to find the things where people are being joyful, living heart-centered lives, and the good is happening. So it's like this choice you get if you choose to be, to play in the play.
I love that. Bringing it into choice is one of my favorite exercises, right? We can choose to hang out and only focus on the crap, or we can choose to elevate our frequency so we can see more of that from that higher perspective, from the more aligned, more expanded, more cosmic perspective. And I know that I easily fall into the gotta get the work done, gotta do the things, because I love what I do so much. But it's ironic because so much of what I do is supporting people in their creative self-expression, in their voice, in their life, in the world. And there has to be that balance. And we oftentimes wind up creating what we need the most. And that's why, again, we created the playground membership, because if I or we are set several times a month to gather and to have some fun and to play with these frequencies, then we're going to do it, right? Like, it fills us up enough. And when we're doing it in community, it's so much easier than if we're just trying to do this by ourselves. Like, yes, you can gamify your life. You can be like, okay, I got to clean the living room, so I'm going to put a timer on it, and I'm going to see how fast I can do this, and I'm going to see if I can hop on one leg when I'm doing it. Great. Gamify your life. That is a fantastic tool. But isn't it more fun when we play together? Like, this is key for me, right? The energy of exchange with other people. And you can play on your own. But if you're feeling like you don't do enough on your own, please come and join us in the playground, because there is an opportunity to be just taking that time to connect as well, right? To allow other people's frequencies to mix and mingle, and then we all get to rise up together just with more ease. Nina and Nicole and I went for a walk yesterday in person outside, and we were all just so exhilarated afterwards because we had been connecting, we had been out in nature, plus we were moving our bodies and sharing and doing all of these things that honestly, we feel really flat and empty without, right? And if you can't do it in person yet, then online is a really amazing tool, right? I like both.
And what's coming to me too, something that we chatted about yesterday on the walk, is that when we are set up to do these types of beautiful activities with one another in community, again, whether it's in person or online, it supports us in filling up. So then we actually make better choices following that. So if I'm connecting with some people, some beautiful soul sisters like Aurora and Nicole, and then we go for a walk, I'm more likely, like last night, I'm felt really good. I felt filled up from the connection. I felt filled up from the nature time, the play in the forest. I made better choices. I did some of the brain training that I'm working on. I ate some healthy food. Like, it's like an upward spiral. Have you ever noticed that sometimes when we're like down in the dumps and we're feeling like we're saying flat, or things are just icky and sticky and we just feel like contracted, sometimes feeling that way can lead to a decision that's a choice that's not as supportive. And then that leads to another choice that's not as supportive. And it can actually be sort of like a downward spiral. And the invitation is to notice how we can shift into making better choices, but how it actually becomes easier when we have little bits that help us to elevate and uplift, and it becomes that upward spiral. And that's why we feel it's so important to have that. Well, for me especially, I thrive on accountability. So to have set times in my calendar where I'm like, this is sacred to me, I'm going to be doing this ceremony at this time on this day, then that's held sacred, and I'm going to be showing up because I'm accountable to, you know, be there either as a participant or as a co-facilitator or a facilitator. And that that is held in my calendar as a time for me to go and shiny up. what's the phrase that's coming to me right now? Fluff up fluff up my vibration, like bring more joy. And with community, I mean, it's contagious. Like, you know, laughter is contagious, right? So why not do it in a collective, in a community?
What you're saying really sounds to me like when you're getting your needs met and you're fulfilling your needs, then it's so much easier to take care of yourself, because you don't have to make those, you know, for the food or the scrolling or the things that will give you that, like, those instant hits that you're maybe looking for. When you take the time to play, and especially in nature with your friends, like, that fills so many needs. It's so much easier because you've already filled your needs, and it's just, yeah, that spiral just goes up so easy that way.
Yeah, we get into a place of overflow. I think I really, 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 really am affected by that. Word's hard. I have, in times when I'm really like isolated or working too hard or I'm stressed out or I'm not connected with community, gained a lot of weight over and over in my life. And I've never really done much to consciously lose it with any success. The times when I have rebalanced my body to a weight that really feels good for it is when I am not paying attention to it at all. But what I am doing is filling myself up with community, with connections, with play, and I'm just having so much fun that my body restores itself to that template of balance, right? And I'm not constantly stressed out because I am filled up with all of the nourishment from all of the playful things that I'm doing when I was dancing regularly. And of course, there's movement involved with this too, right? So that helps, but that's one of the ways that we play. This last year, I noticed, because I wasn't moving as much, because I wasn't connecting with friends, because I wasn't playing, because COVID and life and all of that changed it so much for me. I was just in my pantry with like chocolate, with snacks, because I was bored, lonely, hungry, tired of it all. And so there are a lot of physical ramifications to that rebalancing, the nourishing, the stress response getting mitigated, and that upward spiral just elevating us up into the place where all the magic happens. It feels so good. So I know that I'm setting intention to consciously cultivate more of this in my life. After our walk yesterday, my soul was like, yes, please do more of this. So we want to invite you to join us in June, or, you know, right away, if you are so called, in the playground, where we're going to be really focusing on consciously elevating our frequency and alignment through play in so many different ways. We have mentioned a few times that we do ceremonies, and you might be thinking, well, what's playful about a ceremony? That sounds really, really serious. Not the way we do it. So you want to talk about, like a little bit, just a tiny bit about what ceremony is and why it's not as serious as it sounds when you're coming, and why we would do a ceremony in the playground?
What's coming up for me is that we mentioned it already. It's coming together. It's, when we come together with a common goal, a common intention, that in itself is super powerful. And it creates that opportunity for connection that we are all so hungry for right now. And it is totally possible to receive that nourishment through the virtual space, which is amazing and magical. I really discovered that over this past year, that there is such depth that can happen through this, because our energies and our souls are coming together across the 0 point. We don't have to physically be together. And so in ceremony, as Aurora already mentioned a little bit, we always incorporate some movement, some type of meditation, some intention setting for how we want to be, so that we're directing our focus towards that which we want to create and feel and experience, both in that ceremony and moving forward in our life. We also often do sounding and sound healing, toning, using that throat, using the creation codes that we all uniquely have to move energy, and also to create and to, move into this beingness of what we're wanting to birth. And what else do we do? Oh, we often do some journaling prompts, and Nicole is so masterful she creates journaling prompts for both in the playground ceremonies, but also in the portal. She's created lots of different journaling practices, and we often do light language, and there's also other opportunities in the playground portal, to do things like belief repatterning. And so there's so many different elements that weave together. It keeps it fun, exciting, and fresh, rather than it just being like one thing that's the same for like an hour. I think it's so important for us to have variety, especially when we're on our computers, and to be actively engaged in the embodiment, not just the sitting and the listening, but also engaging, typing into the chat, being engaged with sharing, setting the intention, moving, toning, even setting up your sacred space. Like I often encourage people to, create your sacred space with some essential oils, and have your water and have your crystals, and like just make it an experience for yourself. And that is in itself is just so nourishing. So that was probably a lot, but I just wanted to throw all of that out there. It just channeled through that's how we roll in the playground. We love to just create these sacred experiences and these opportunities for us to come together and be filled up.
You don't have to join us in the playground if that does not feel aligned for you. But we do want to invite you to come if your heart is going like, I need some more of this in my life. There's a link that I just put into the notes. And I also just noticed that there's a message from Jason saying 100 humans on Netflix did a study on play and joy versus a cash price. So I need to go and watch that. There is scientific, qualitative, and quantitative data about how well this works for whole body, mind, soul, vibrant alignment and health. So we would love for you to, regardless of whether or not you're coming to join us in the playground, of course we would love that, but for you to consciously cultivate more opportunities in your life, whether it be during your workday or outside of that. In fact, I have a challenge for all of you, and that is to pick at least one time this week and put it in your calendar where you are going to devote yourself to doing something fun. When we're talking play, it doesn't have to be like patty cake, right? It could be riding your bike. It could be cooking, with music blasting. Maybe go a little further than cooking, right? Like something where you're actively doing something that you loved in the past. And if you don't have anything like that, find an animal or a kid to play with, and they will show you how it's done.
Totally natural for them. It's like inherent. And we have so much, there's so much that we can learn from them. And I also want to invite you, if you're watching right now, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, type us into the chat. Let us know, what are you going to do to play this week? What's on your heart that's just calling out to be expressed through you? And it can be anything, something that is going to nourish you. And it can honestly be 1 minute long of shaking, or it can be dancing to, your favorite hype song that always gets you happy, or something else. I was just, before we came on this live here, I was dancing to this really epic song that just like is so shiny and joyful. And I was like feeling amazing because of it. So utilize music to uplift you.
I just want to share that after our beautiful walk yesterday, I was feeling so inspired to create some digital art, which is something that I took art class in high school and really loved painting and stuff like that back then, and I don't do it nearly enough or at all now. So it was so nice to just create something for the sake of creating it and having fun and not having an outcome on it. And I'll share it later because I really liked the results, but that's not why I'm sharing it. I'm sharing it because I had fun.
Yeah, I think we need to remember that play can be any kind of creative self-expression, right? If you're jamming with your art, if you're singing, if you're dancing, if you're just having a silly time, that all counts. So, is there anything that feels like it needs to be shared before we close up? We could wrap on sacred play and why and how and all of the beautiful things for probably weeks. But I feel like we'll be wrapping this up with that invitation to do something today, to do something this week, and hopefully join us in the playground as well.
Yeah, and just know that as you are doing it, as you're gifting yourself the opportunity to play, you're actually gifting the world with this energy, because it is like, I don't know if you've noticed, but energy is contagious. People pick up on the energy, the vibration, the frequency that you're emitting. When you go out into public, it's a felt sensation. And even if you're not in public, even if you're at home, it is adding to the vibration, the collective vibration that we are all always contributing to on the planet. So you're doing a service to all of us when you're doing that for yourself. It's not just you in that moment, and it's certainly not selfish. So if there's any belief around that, go ahead and create and destroy that for yourself. I know that something for me that's popped up in the past is like, oh, well, if I'm doing this, then it's taking away from other time that I could be doing things for, that are productive, like we mentioned earlier. So yeah, like, let's just allow play to serve humanity at this time.
Just breathing that energy in. We have words here in the Radiant Evolution Collective because they all have a frequency, they have an energy. So to inhale the life force energy and vibration of play, just it feels really good. So thank you for joining us on this journey into discussing what play is. Like, we scratched the surface, but we just wanted to touch it, illuminate it, and then we're going to go deeper into the entire essence of play. And again, only scratch the surface because it's an endless ocean directly in the playground in June. We're going to take a break from this Illumination series next week because several of us are out on adventures in the mountains. I'm finally taking the vacation that my guidance told me to do about a month and a half ago because I was feeling that burnt out flat. So I need to go and play and look at some waterfalls and talk with the trees and hike and just be outside.
Yay, and I'm going to be hiking in the mountains as well. I'm so excited to just, revel in that nature and leave Edmonton. I have been here for like a while now, so it's the longest I've ever gone without traveling. So yeah, I'm going to gift myself with that.
Any final thoughts on play, Nicole?
Well, while you are both playing in the mountains, I will find some way for myself to play that is maybe a little bit out of the ordinary. Maybe I'll go to a different path or ravine in the river valley or something than what I normally do. Because I think play is also can be about changing things up and doing things a little bit differently and getting out of our routines. So I will see what I can do to play next week.
Beautiful.
As well.
Amazing. Well, we all love you so much, and we are going to chat again in 2 weeks. So if you're watching this, do make sure, if you're on YouTube, to like and subscribe so you catch it there. And we will be hopefully playing with you in spirit until then. Bye.